Well, it's a big show. Oh, it's a big bad show tonight. Oh, baby, come on. Yeah, it's a big show. Oh, crank it up, turn on them lights, turn them on. Oh, get ready for something that you never know. You won't see it coming, but I promise you know it's a big show.
From the greatest city in the world, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hello, everybody. It's me, Mr. Brewtown. You are listening to the big show. We call it Brewtownsports. You can find us on Twitter and Google Plus Brewtownsports. Don't forget about Facebook. It's called Mr. Brewtown. You can also listen to the show at Stitcher.com, TuneIn.com, and iTunes.com. Also, Podomatic.com and Spreaker.com. You can pick up the program on TPSradio.net, BaseballTalkRadio.com, and at MaxSportsChannel.com, and in my site. I've actually got two of them now, BrewtownRadio.weebly.com. That's the one I've been using for quite a while, and I've started a new one. It's BrewtownSports.wix.com, WIX.com. So check it out. It's all the same. You can listen to the show, and I've got a bunch of information up there on how to listen to the show and some Brewers and Packers news and notes. And not a good time to be a Milwaukee Brewer fan. Of course, you know, we got swept by the Cubs. That was disappointing. Oh, man. Anytime you lose to the Cubs, that's disappointing. And we kind of looked at this Cardinals series that happened over the weekend, and we said, you know, there's a shot. There's a chance. I mean, we could be right back in it. We could be right back in first place. All we got to do is sweep the Cardinals. Just didn't happen. The Brewers are just lifeless. There's just nobody has taken control of that team. None of the veterans have stepped up and said, hey, this is my team. I'm the guy who has to lead this team. I got to do the small things. I'm the guy who has to get Gene Segura and some of the other guys back into playing great baseball. And it can't always fall on the manager. I mean, the managers can only do so much. It's up to the players once they get on the field to play baseball. And that's where having a good veteran, somebody that is really good at that. And we've seen it in the past. Craig Counsell was good at that. Prince Fielder. I know a lot of people say, Prince was one of those guys. Niger Morgan in 2011. Man, I mean, this guy he sparked the team. And there just isn't anybody that's doing that for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, they lost Saturday and Sunday. Friday night, there was some hope. I mean, Brewers 6, Cardinals 2. We thought, okay, this is great. It really looks like we're on to something here. But then Saturday, they were so lifeless. Sunday, they were just lifeless. I mean, the Brewers are just getting their butts kicked. They're seriously just getting their butt kicked, and the way it looks, some of these players are just walking through the games. And, you know, and I don't know if they thought they could get off to this great start and they could just ride it out. Hey, you know, we'll just ride it out. We'll play 500 baseball. You know, the Cardinals aren't playing great baseball. Pittsburgh at the time wasn't playing great baseball. Cincinnati fell off, so we could just kind of coast through. You can't do that. And I've talked about it all season long. The team that I was mainly concerned about were the St. Louis Cardinals, because the Cardinals always adjust. They always find the right thing, and they get hot in September. They get hot in September. We saw it in 2011. I mean, they came back and not only made the playoffs, but then beat the Brewers in the National League Championship Series and then went on to win the World Series. And if you had talked about that in August of 2011, a lot of people would have looked at you like, what are you talking about? The Cardinals are done. And the Cardinals are doing it again. So it looked like, as I said, that there was some life in the Brewers Friday night, and they broke that losing streak, and they beat the Cardinals thanks to a strong performance from Scooter Gennett, Chris Davis, and Mike Fiers. Now, those three stood up and said, hey, we're better than the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to beat them. However, those signs of life just didn't last. They played well on Saturday, but just couldn't win for a second straight day. And they were completely lifeless in that loss yesterday. I turned the game off. I literally turned the game off because I just couldn't watch it. They were, as I said, they were walking through the game. There was no effort to win that game yesterday, and it's pretty much ended any hope that they had of winning the division. I'm going to say it. I'm Mr. Brewtown. I'm the guy. I've been following the Milwaukee Brewers pretty much since 1970, 71. their chance of winning the division is almost over. There's still a hope, but it's almost over. We need to concentrate on getting into the playoffs. And we took a huge step back this weekend. And I know everybody's frustrated. I see it online. Everybody talking about let's fire everybody. Let's just trade everybody. Let's start anew. Let's start a rebuilding program. I think a lot of the players on the Brewers they just need to learn from the situation. And I know that sounds blasé, but what else are we going to do? I mean, it's just something that happens, and we're all frustrated. But I think now to start trading people and to just start firing people. You fire Ron Reineke, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get? All the really good managers, they're already taken, and they've got huge contracts. The Milwaukee Brewers cannot compete with the contracts that the Los Angeles Angels can give, even the Chicago Cubs. They're going to be looking for a manager. They're going to be looking with all this young talent to grab one of those big guys and throw a lot of money at him. The Brewers just don't have that capability. And so you're always going to end up with guys like Ron Reineke, who I think overall has done a good job for the Milwaukee Brewers. Dale Swaim's name keeps coming up. Dale Swaim, if he was this great manager that was going to take teams to the World Series, he'd already have a job. He's a bit lower than Ron Reineke, I think, in being able to do. And let's not forget that this team in 2008, they didn't play well under Dale Swaim. I mean, they got swept by the Philadelphia Phillies. You want to talk about a series where there was no life in a team? There was no life in the team, and there was no life in Dale Swaim. Dale Swaim pretty much just stood in the dugout, and that's why he didn't get the job come the end of the year. That's why they went with Kenny Maka. Kenny Maka, of course, turned out to be a disaster, but let's kind of hold back. Let's see. Let's kind of look at everything that happened this season, the pluses and the minuses. There's going to be some adjustments. Some guys are going to probably be moved out. They're going to move some contracts. We'll see who they bring in, but right now I think, hey, Ron Reineke, let's keep him for another year or two. Because as I said, you get rid of Ron Reineke, there's a lot of teams out there that love to offer Ron Reineke a job. Who are you going to bring in? So you're not going to get a Mike Scioscia. You're not going to get a Joe Madden. You're not going to get a Joe Girardi. These guys want big money, and they've got big money contracts. The Milwaukee Brewers cannot compete against that. One of the pluses that we've been talking about all season is Jonathan LaCroix. This guy should be the MVP. I think he's not going to get it. It would surprise me if he gets it. Because a lot of other players play in a lot bigger markets and they get a lot more attention. Jonathan LaCroix has set the record. Actually, not only set it, he broke it for hitting doubles for a catcher. With a first hitting double in last night's game against the Cardinals, his 48th of the season, and that's double. Brewers catcher Jonathan LaCroix broke the doubles record for catchers. Ivan Rodriguez held the record previously, doubling 47 times in 1996. Though two of those doubles were hit as a DH. 41 of LaCroix's 48 doubles have been hit when he has been in the lineup as a catcher, 6 at first base, and then 1 as a DH. He's having another standout year for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's entering, or he was batting .299 entering the game that he hit the double that broke the record. And he's got 13 homers and 62 RBIs. Now, a lot of people say, well, you can't make him an MVP because he's not a power hitter. He's not driving in a lot of runs. But I really think with just the doubles alone and the impact, because let's not forget, MVP is the most valuable player to the team, not just, hey, this guy's a superstar. He's putting up huge numbers, but how does he help the team? You take Jonathan LaCroix away from the Milwaukee Brewers, the Milwaukee Brewers are right down there with the Cubs. It's that simple. Jonathan LaCroix really has been that one, along with Carlos Gomez, that one guy that you can look at and say, these two in the lineup, the Brewers are a better team. And that's great for the future. So congratulations, Jonathan LaCroix. Another huge season for Jonathan LaCroix. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to kind of just gloss over this past week. It's been just an absolute disaster. One of the worst stretches that I've seen in a long time for the Milwaukee Brewers. We're also going to take a look at the standings as we stand today in Major League Baseball. We'll do that right after this short break. We'll be right back, folks. You're listening to The Big Show. We call it Brewtown Sports.
Baseball is the president tossing out the first ball of the season, and a scrubby schoolboy playing catch with his dad. on a Mississippi farm. A tall, thin old man waving a scorecard from his corner of his dugout. That's baseball. So is a big fat guy with a bulbous nose running home one of his 714 home runs. There's a man in Mobile who remembers that Hollis Wagner hit a triple in Pittsburgh 46 years ago. That's baseball. So is a scout reporting that a 16-year-old Sandlot pitcher in Cheyenne is a coming Walter Johnson. Baseball is a spirited race of man against man, reflex against reflex, a game of inches. Every skill is measured, every heroic, every failing is seen and cheered, or booed and then becomes a statistic. In baseball, democracy shines its clearest. The only race that matters is a race to the bag. The creed is a rule book, and color merely something to distinguish one team's uniform from another. Baseball is a rookie, his experience no bigger than the lump at his throat as he begins fulfillment of his dream. It's a veteran, too, a tired old man of 35, hoping that those aching muscles can pull him through a sweltering August and September. Nicknames of baseball, names like Zeke and Pie and Kai and Home Run and Dizzy and Dancy. Baseball is the clear, cool eyes of Rogers Hornsby, the flashing spikes of a Ty Cobb, and an overage pixie named Rabbit Baranville. Baseball, it's just a game, as simple as a ball and bat, and yet as complex as the American spirit it symbolizes. It's a sport, a business, sometimes almost even religion. While the fairy tale of Willie Mays dashing off to play stickball in the streets with his teenage pals, that's baseball. And so is a husky voice of a doomed Lou Gehrig saying, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of this earth. Baseball is cigar smoke, hot roasted peanuts, ladies' day, down in front. Take me out to the ball game and the Star-Spangled Banner. Baseball is a man named Campanella telling the nation's business leaders, you have to be a man to be a big leaguer, but you have to have a lot of little boy in you too. This is a game for America, this baseball, a game for boys and for men.
All right, welcome back to the big show. We call it Brewtown Sports. Look for us on Twitter and Google+. Brewtown Sports. Facebook, it's called Mr. Brewtown. Let's kind of gloss over real quick just a review of the past week for the Milwaukee Brewers. Everybody's just giving them an F grade. If you're grading week by week all the teams in Major League Baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers get an F. It's that simple. And that's hard for me to say because there were pluses. I mean, Jonathan LaCroix getting his record-setting double, but there were just everything that could go wrong went wrong. Ryan Braun had to take some time off for maternity leave. Some people are saying, well, what is that all about? I'm not even going to get into that. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Braun, oh, man. You know, Carlos Gomez being out of the lineup, it's just a bad week. For the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think everybody agrees they get an F. They started the week by getting swept by the Cubs, as we said, and then in a crucial must-win series, they dropped 3 of 4 to the Cardinals at home. Along the way, Milwaukee was outscored 36-17 since Monday, 36-17. Now, this is a team that has been scoring runs all season, but they haven't been giving up a lot of runs. The pitching staff had been performing very well, and now that's flip-flop. We're just not scoring runs, which we haven't been doing all season. I mean, this is a team that is a big run-producing team, and we haven't been. We've been scoring 3, 4, 5 runs a game, but we've been able to keep the other team from scoring more, and the pitching staff just has not been getting the job done. They're now 5 games back of St. Louis and in third place. I mean, we've fallen to third place now in the National League Central. Pittsburgh is playing good baseball. Right now, the Brewers, thanks to their recent tailspin, they've dropped 14 of 17, have just a 29.1% chance of making the playoffs. And just about 2 weeks ago, they had well over an 80% chance of not only making the playoffs, but winning that division. And everybody was talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. Wait till September. We waited, and so far, September has not been good. I mean, it's like May of last year, where the Brewers just couldn't do anything, and that's what they're doing. 14 of 17 they've lost. Pitching staff not performing well. They're not scoring runs. They're walking through games. And really, the one big plus last week was Mike Fiers, who just continues to find ways to help the Milwaukee Brewers win. So, not a good week for the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's take a look at the standings as we stand right now in Major League Baseball. In the American League Eastern Division, the Baltimore Orioles have a 9.5 game lead on the New York Yankees. The Orioles' magic number now is at 12, and nobody, and I mean nobody, had the Baltimore Orioles win in this division. Buck Showalter, one of my favorite managers in all of Major League Baseball. Great job with the Baltimore Orioles. The New York Yankees are 73 and 68. Toronto's at 73 and 69. Tampa Bay 69 75, and Boston's in last place at 63 and 80. In the Central Division, the Kansas City Royals are 2 games up on the Detroit Tigers and 5 games up on the Cleveland Indians. Kansas City's magic number is now 19. Detroit has won. They're 5-5 basically in their last 10 games. The Royals are 6-4. Detroit's 78 and 65. Cleveland is 74 and 67. They're 7-3 and they've won 3 games in a row. So Cleveland's making a game of it. Chicago White Sox are 63 and 79. The Minnesota Twins are 61 and 82 and in last place. Out west, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California, are 87 and 55. They're 7 games up on the Oakland A's. The Angels' magic number is now 14. They've won 4 games in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. And when Oakland made those trades, a lot of people say, well, hey, this is great. I mean, look at Oakland. They're making all these trades. They're going to win this division. They're going to be the team to beat. They're going to be in the World Series. They can't win the division. Hey, congratulations to Mike Scioscia and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California. Their magic number, once again, is 14. Oakland is 82 and 62. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. Seattle is 78 and 64. They're 9 games back. They're 6-4. In their last 10 games. Houston is 63 and 80, and Texas is 54 and 89, and they'll be looking for a new manager down there in Texas. In the National League Eastern Division, the Washington Nationals, their magic number is 14. They're 80 and 61. They're 7 games up on the Atlanta Braves. Now, Washington is 5-5 in their last 10 games, and so is Atlanta. Atlanta's 74 and 69. Miami is 69 and 72. They're 11 games back. The New York Mets are 68 and 75. They're 13 games back. And the Philadelphia Phillies are 66 and 76. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. So are the Mets. The Phillies are 14.5 games back. In the Western Division of the National League, the Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles, California, their magic number is now 17. They're 81 and 62. They've won 3 games in a row. They're 6-4 in the last 10 games. The San Francisco Giants are 78 and 65. They're 3 games back. San Diego is now in third place. They're 66 and 76. They're 14.5 games back. They've lost 5 games in a row, though. Colorado has come from behind. They've won 4 games in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're 59 and 84. The Arizona Cardinals, who have lost 3 games in a row and 4-6 in their last 10 games, they're also at 59 and 84. The National League Central Division, the St. Louis Cardinals, we all hate them. We all hate them here in the greatest city in the world, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You got to give them credit, though. They always find ways to win in September. Their magic number is 16, 79 and 64. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 74 and 68. They're 4.5 games back. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games, and they've won 3 games in a row. The Milwaukee Brewers are 74 and 69. They're 5 games back. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games. Cincinnati at 67 and 76, and the Chicago Cubs are 64 and 75, or 79, that is. Now Cincinnati, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. The Chicago Cubs are 5-5. The Cincinnati Reds could end up in last place. I don't think anybody had that. I don't think anybody said, well, I think Cincinnati's going to end up with the worst record in the National League Central. We all pretty much said it was going to be the Cubs, except for that handful of Cubs fans that always say, well, this is the season we're going to the World Series. So that's the standings as we stand today in Major League Baseball. Let's take a look at the wild card race, because right now that's what we need to concentrate on the National League with our Milwaukee Brewers. San Francisco has the lead right now in the wild card. They're 78 and 65. Pittsburgh right now would get that second spot. Atlanta and Milwaukee are half game back. So Milwaukee's got to be able to beat Pittsburgh. They got to be able to stay ahead of Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Miami is the next closest one. They're 4.5 games out of that wild card spot. So right now you're looking at Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and Milwaukee for that second spot. San Francisco, they 3.5 games up. That's going to be tough to do. It can be done. San Francisco could go into a slide. Pittsburgh could go into a slide, and Atlanta could go into a slide. The Brewers could just start winning every game and still make the playoffs and get that nice first wild card spot. In the American League, the wild card position, it's Oakland by 2 games over Seattle. Detroit's a half game back, then Cleveland 3.5 games back. So it's starting to kind of show itself. Oakland and Detroit both made those trades, went for pitching, and the season it's bottomed out on them. We'll see if any of those teams can do it. But right now it is Oakland and Seattle. But I still say Detroit's going to come back and make the playoffs and could possibly even win that division. So that's the wild card race. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Not a good Thursday for the Green Bay Packers. We'll do that right after this short break. You're listening to the big show. We call it Brewtown Sports.
Brewtownsports.podomatic.com. One of my favorite things about doing the big show is being on the BaseballTalkRadio.com network. All the bases are covered. Here's some of the fantastic shows on BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Baseball Talk Radio is proud to congratulate Mr. Brewtown and his Brewtown Sports Show on his 500th episode. Check out all of his shows right at BaseballTalkRadio.com. Follow Mr. Brewtown on Twitter. He's at Brewtownsports.
Congratulations to the Mr. Brewtown podcast for their 500th show. If you love baseball and listening to podcasts on baseballpodcast.net, check out the Minnesota Twins podcast, Talk to Contact, at talktocontact.com. Once again, congratulations, Mr. Brewtown, on your 500th show.
Congratulations, Mr. Brewtown from Baseball PhD. Your podcasts inspire our podcast. 500 podcasts from the greatest city in the world, Milwaukee. Thanks for helping us all get our PhD in life through baseball.
Hi, this is Gary Mack of Mets Musings at MetsMusings.com and BaseballTalkRadio.com, and I want to congratulate Mr. Brewtown on his 500th episode. Here's to 500 more, Mr. Brewtown. Congratulations.
BaseballTalkRadio.com, your home for great baseball talk. Listen to Brewtown Sports on your iPhone, Android, WS, BOS phones, or BlackBerry device. Go to Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio. It's the smarter way to listen to the radio.
Hey, welcome back to the big show. We call it Brewtown Sports. Look for us on Twitter and Google+, Brewtown Sports, and Facebook. It's called Mr. Brewtown. Well, we got to talk about the Green Bay Packers week. And like I said, it was a bad week because the Brewers fell apart the Saturday before the big loss, the Wisconsin Badgers losing to LSU. And then Thursday night we thought, hey, Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers are going to make everything right. They didn't. Man, it just was one of those things. We had that shot, and we just couldn't do it. And I'm not trying to say that the Green Bay Packers are done, and you hear it, well, the Packers don't look that good. Boy, that Aaron Rodgers, he really struggled, and how come they didn't make this draft and this trade? And they didn't sign this free agent. The Green Bay Packers are still a really good football team. I mean, you got to look at it and say, who else has been able to beat the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champion, and they looked really really good. Marshawn Lynch, 20 rushes, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the big player for the Seattle Seahawks. Randall Cobb, I mean, who do you give it to for the Green Bay Packers? I guess Randall Cobb, 6 receptions, 58 yards, and 1 touchdown. Aaron Rodgers was 23 of 33, 189 yards. He was sacked 3 times, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. His quarterback rating for that game was 81.5. Now, for a lot of teams, they would look at it and say, hey, that's pretty good. I mean, our quarterback had a rating of 81.5. For Aaron Rodgers, that's not good. That's how good Aaron Rodgers is. Russell Wilson, we all love him here in Wisconsin. 19 of 28, 191 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. His quarterback rating was 110.9. Russell Wilson is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. I think of all the young quarterbacks, him, Colin Kaepernick, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson is the best team leader. I think that this guy, he's got an arm. He can make the passes. He's accurate. He's got a great read on the defense, what's going on around him. And this kid can just motor. I mean, he makes the Seattle Seahawks as good as they are. Rushing for the Green Bay Packers, James Stark, 7 rushes, 37 yards. Eddie Lacy, 12 rushes, 34 yards. DeJuan Harris, 1 for 7. And John Kuhn, 1 for 2 and a touchdown. John Kuhn, that's what he does. You need somebody to put that ball in near the end zone. You give it to John Kuhn. Seattle, Marshawn Lynch, as we said, 110 yards, 20 rushes. Percy Harvin, 4 rushes, 41 yards. They use Percy Harvin so well as a running back, as a receiver, as a decoy. This is a guy that every team now who plays Seattle is going to have to shut down. And if you shut Percy Harvin down, they just give you Marshawn Lynch or Russell Wilson. And this is a really good-looking football team. The Seattle Seahawks. Receiving for the Green Bay Packers, Jordy Nelson was 9 receptions for 83 yards. Randall Cobb with the touchdown, 6. He was thrown to 9 times, 58 yards. Andrew Corliss caught 3. James Stark caught 2. And Eddie Lacy caught 3 for 11 yards. So it was pretty much Jordy Nelson was making the catches, but Randall Cobb got the big touchdown for the Green Bay Packers. Other games from yesterday, from Sunday, was New Orleans losing to Atlanta. That one surprised me. New Orleans is a good football team. Atlanta is a good football team, but I would have taken New Orleans. Final score was 37-34. The Buffalo Bills, this game that I kind of watched the second half. I love it when the Bears lose. Buffalo 23, Chicago 20. Tennessee over Kansas City 26-10. Minnesota. Now, St. Louis does not have a good offense, but they've got a good defense. This one surprised me. Minnesota 34-6. New England loses to Miami 33-20. I love that. I love any time you get an upset because a lot of people discount Miami. Miami's a good football team. They take the victory. New York Jets, who come to Green Bay next Sunday to take on the Green Bay Packers, they beat Oakland 19-14. Philadelphia comes back. They were down 17-0 at one time in this game and win 34-17 over Jacksonville. Pittsburgh beats Cleveland 30-27. Cincinnati beats Baltimore 23-16. The Houston Texans beat the Washington Redskins. I'm not afraid to say the name because that is their name, 17-6. San Francisco over Dallas 28-17. Carolina beats Tampa Bay 20-14. And Denver and Peyton Manning beat the Indianapolis Colts 31-24. So a good weekend for football. If you're into football, and I know so many of you are, that was a good weekend. Started off Thursday night. Packers against the Seahawks. Didn't like the result of that game, but it was a good game to watch. I mean, it was a good game to watch. More so on the Seahawks side. As we said, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Percy Harvin, the defense of the Seahawks, they do so much. And the Packers had some injuries on their offensive line, and they already had injuries on their offensive line, so now they're really thin. That changed the game. You could see the flow of the game changed. I'm not saying that caused the loss because Seattle was a really good football team, but some great football over the weekend in the NFL, and more to come this coming weekend. As we said, the Packers in Green Bay against the New York Jets. That's a game that I really want to watch and or listen to because I think that this is a game where the Packers come back from that loss to the Seattle Seahawks. And I think Aaron Rodgers really, and they're going to adjust. The line will be adjusted, and I think it's just going to be a big game. Look for Eddie Lacy if he's in the lineup. He had a concussion. He was taken out of the game with a concussion. If he's back, look for that running game to really take off against the New York Jets. How do you run against the Seattle Seahawks? Well, we found out you really can't. So that's pretty much our show for today. Hope you enjoyed it, because I sure enjoyed giving it to you. You're listening to the big show. We call it Brewtown Sports. Look for us on Twitter and Google+, Brewtown Sports. Facebook is called Mr. Brewtown. You can listen to the show at Stitcher.com, TuneIn.com, iTunes.com, Spreaker.com, Podomatic.com. Look for us at BaseballTalkRadio.com, TPSRadio.net. Also on MaxSportsChannel.com. BrewtownRadio.weebly.com. Have a good day, everybody. Broadcasting from the greatest city in the world, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Mr. Brewtown has left the studios. Drive home safely. Beep, beep.